Lincoln is so fortunate to have a history of compassion and care for seniors. Legacy retirement communities have established themselves as distinguished retirement leaders. Senior care has greatly expanded since Jerry Joyce founded the Legacy in 1995 to care for his mother, Bernice. We talk about it on KFOR every Saturday morning on The Aging Adventure, brought to you by Legacy Retirement Communities. And joining me every week are familiar friends of many KFOR listeners. John Kopetsky became connected to the Legacy through KFOR and is now Executive Director of Legacy Terrace at 5700 Fremont Street. And Kathy Blythe, who has an award-winning history on KFOR and a deep connection to Legacy. Kathy and John, good morning.
Hi, Dale.
Good morning, Mr. Dale.
Senior health is the focus of Sydnie Smith, Activities Associate, and Nichole Hardy, Director of Nursing. Both will share their experiences on the Aging Adventure today. After Jocelyn Fitzgerald, Retirement Living Advisor, talks about the art of downsizing.
Jocelyn, we spend our entire lives accumulating stuff, and pretty soon that stuff starts to take over. I know you've dealt with a lot of folks who are having trouble dealing with stuff.
I sure have. It is certainly something that we all deal with, but as we age, it's something that seems to get a little bit harder to know what to do with a lot of those things that we accumulate. We all have houses that we tend to fill with stuff, regardless if we're using those things or not.
And it sort of stops you from having any forward movement. Once there's too much stuff, it's like you feel like you're frozen in time or something, or you can't make that next step forward.
Oh, that is so true, Kathy. It almost paralyzes us from making steps forward when we're looking to make a change in our life, because that is one of the biggest things that can kind of stop someone from making a change, that mountain of stuff that just kind of overwhelms us in our minds.
What's one step that folks can take to start getting ready to downsize and free themselves of all of that stuff?
Yeah, I always think that it's just kind of taking a step back and just starting small. One thing that I think is just a really good idea to start with is to just take an inventory of what you have in your home. Go through every room in your house and just look. Go through your closets, go through and not touch anything, just look at all of the items that you have. Go down to the basement and just see the boxes and the storage that you have accumulated there. And just kind of have that in your mind. Okay, this is what I have in my home. And then I think deciding what to keep. That's going to probably be the best thing to start with. Some of those larger items that you know for sure, these are the things I know I want to keep. And then maybe just one thing to do after that is, when I know what I want to keep, what are the things that I know that family or friends may want to have that I no longer want anymore, but are important to somebody else? So that's just kind of a small thing you can start. It's just taking inventory and then just knowing, okay, what are the larger items that I know I want to keep?
I like the idea about blessing somebody else with those items that they could be enjoying. And another thing that happens, John was talking about how we all accumulate our own family stuff. Then as the years progress and loved ones pass on their items to us, at any given time, we may have several generations of things that we don't want to get. It's like if we get rid of those things and we get rid of the memories.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's something that we all do. We attach emotions and sentiment onto our items, especially those family heirlooms, especially those collections that we've accumulated. And some of those things really do bring joy to us, and we don't necessarily want to forget those memories. But how can we downsize those things so that maybe we still have the joy and the memories from those things? A couple of tricks to just think of is just taking a simple photo of the items that were family heirlooms or collections, and maybe just keeping that photo on your computer, or an actual physical photo that you keep somewhere. So you still have those memories and those emotions that bring you joy, but maybe you don't want to have those things that are adding up in your space that you're in. So that's one trick. And I think also maybe just maybe keeping one or two of those items. If you have like a collection of something. I remember when I was younger, I had a cow collection. I was very into collections. I collected Coca-Cola items and things like that. And I still have one or two pieces of that collection, but then I donated the rest of that collection.
Jocelyn, if we have just a little bit more time here, I think it would be interesting for people to know how long you've been at Legacy, because I so admire all of the employees there and also the opportunities that are given to employees. And you went there at a young age and you're still there.
I sure am. I started when I was 16 years old and I worked in the dining room and I loved it so much that I just decided to stay and hope they decide to keep me forever. I've been with the communities now. Next month, it'll be 24 years.
That's awesome.
Jocelyn, thank you very much. Good story and very important information for downsizing. Coming up, the signs of declining senior health when the aging adventure continues. Welcome back to The Aging Adventure, brought to you by Legacy Retirement Communities. I'm Dale Johnson, joined by John Kopetsky and Kathy Blythe. A caring conversation now about declining senior health. Nichole Hardy is Director of Nursing.
One thing that we have found over the years, and especially the last year, is we know that nurses are angels among us. So we can't thank nurses enough for everything they do. And certainly you are so good about helping people, not only physically, but emotionally. And declining health is something that it seems like if we live long enough, it's inevitable. And how do you discern when it's time to get some extra help when you have some declining health?
Someone faces a health decline, sooner rather than later is the best time. The help of a family member or even a senior advisor. You know, they can help direct that person on what is best. In all of our experience that we have, we can help them continue to maybe improve in their health.
You know, Nichole, a lot of times people are going to be resistant to even admitting that they might not be as fit as they used to be, or they have some challenges, particularly as a almost 60-year-old American male. You know, we're all trained to be John Wayne and we don't need no help from nobody. And so there can be resistance to even admitting that some help is needed. And even though you might know inside that, yes, I need some help, there's a resistance to ask for that help. How would you help somebody overcome that fear and ask for the help that's needed?
One, just visiting with that individual for a period of time to help them feel comfortable with you, so that they can open up and you can express your experiences in things that you've seen with people. We have had a resident in the past where she was in our independent community and just needed some more care. She would go out to the hospital, come back, do really well for a period of time, go back out to the hospital, and conversations with the family, you know, and with our resident came out that she was lonely and her health really improved when we brought her into our assisted community. We didn't have a hospitalization for 2.5 years because she had that interaction in the assisted living area, where in her independent apartment, she was getting out to meals and going to a few activities, but she didn't have that one-on-one interaction and that care that the staff could provide for her.
Nichole, what's the best way to assess what level of care someone's in need of?
So it's really important to involve the individual that that's needing that assessment, getting to know what they're having difficulties with, what they would like to have assistance with, and just, letting them know what levels of care are available to them.
It's really all about reaching out to somebody you trust, whether that's family or a trusted friend or your doctor or whomever. It's somebody you can trust for advice and who knows you. That's really the best place to turn.
Yes, absolutely. It can be very difficult for an independent individual to realize or even accept the help that can be given to them, especially if they're not familiar with the communities or the staffing in the communities. They have to take time to build that trust between themselves and the staff that are providing those cares that could give them the quality of life that they need.
Can you give us some good advice about what we should be watching for, the indicators that more help is needed?
So, if you have a loved one who comes in to an individual's home and they notice weight loss or weight gain, the weight loss could be forgetting to eat because maybe it's some cognitive changes, or maybe physically unable to prepare their own meals. The weight gain could be because they've forgotten that they did eat and their body is telling them that they're still hungry. Change in personal hygiene. Maybe they're not taking a shower because they don't remember how to take a shower, or there's a physical challenge where they can't get into their shower any longer because they can't lift their legs. Forgetting to take medication. Family members set up medications and they come in to reset that up and they see that there might be some medication times missed. Mood changes or depression. Those are things that family members or loved ones should look for in the individual that might need some more help.
That's excellent information. And oftentimes when somebody has a spouse, it's very hard to even admit, to yourself or about your spouse that they might be declining in health. And sometimes some difficult conversations need to take place.
Absolutely. And sometimes the spouse has guilt for, mentioning that there might need some more assistance because they want to be that caregiver for their loved one. But they also need to recognize that they need to be the spouse. They need to be the husband or the wife, not the caregiver, so that they can enjoy time with their loved one.
Nichole, thank you very much. All of that very good information. From physical health to mental health. That's next when the Aging Adventure continues. You're listening to The Aging Adventure on KFOR. I'm Dale Johnson with John and Kathy. Thank you very much for being with us. Mental health issues are a growing concern in our society. To address it from a senior perspective on The Aging Adventure, we reach out to Sydnie Smith, Activities Associate at Legacy.
When there's issues of mental health, particularly among older Americans, there can be a real stigma, a negative stigma about admitting that there's some issues going on, there's stress in your life, and it can sometimes prevent people from reaching out for help. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Older generations still have that lingering stigma. Their generations grew up not addressing or talking about mental health issues. I think some of the younger generations have been more open to talking about normalizing seeing a therapist, taking medication, taking care of our mental health. It's a huge problem to have that barrier of the stigma for older adults because it prevents them from reaching out for the help they need. But we have to treat mental health just like physical health.
You know, I wear glasses and I have for years, and there's an issue there that my eyes weren't performing up to speed, and I've used glasses to correct that. And if we could only see mental issues in the same way we see glasses or, you know, whatever intervention we might need.
I want to note that depression isn't a normal part of aging. Not all older adults will experience depression, and everyone who does experience that should reach out to their doctor for treatment.
Can you tell us some of the signs to be cognizant of when in ourselves or somebody else when it comes to identifying depression or other mental health issues?
Yeah, so kind of like Nichole is saying, there's some overlap. I think a lot of the signs can apply to people of all ages. Social withdrawal, not wanting to reach out to family, not attending social activities, not showering, which could be a part of not being able to shower, not remembering to shower, or maybe just not being able to get out of bed to shower. Also, weight gain, weight loss, kind of the same things as Nichole said, but it could be due to, you know, loss of appetite due to depressive symptoms and weight gain, resorting to eating food as a coping mechanism.
One thing we've all learned in the last year is that, really have learned the hard way, is that we're all social beings, and the isolation that's been forced upon us, people of every age by COVID, has been really tough on all of us. Have you noticed that it's increasing or has made problems with isolation among seniors worse?
Yes, so especially the older adults, the social isolation from COVID has been huge. They haven't been able to communicate the same ways younger adults can through Zoom and Skype and messaging on Facebook. I did read a whole article. I kind of wrote a paper on social isolation and older adults. And an article I read said that loneliness can be just as lethal as smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
It's amazing.
That connection can have such a huge impact on your mental and physical well-being.
Do you have some general tips for us as far as, especially for older adults and their loved ones or caregivers, that can be incorporated into their day-to-day life to help with general mental well-being?
Yeah, so keeping active, both your mind and body, that connection's huge. Exercising in any way they can, taking walks, doing seated exercises, keeping your mind active, doing puzzles, playing games, staying connected with friends, family, other residents and staff. We talk about the importance of people wanting to say, "You're welcome," more than "thank you." And I think volunteering or just being able to help others in general can give people that sense of purpose and fulfillment.
And I think as a society today, we're so polarized, it seems, in all walks of life politically, and the pandemic has certainly brought that out as well. Do you see increased stress because of all the negative news, and what's some ways we can handle that while still remaining informed, but not, I guess, letting it run our lives or ruin our lives?
I think staying updated on the situations going on and staying connected with friends and family and keeping as much normal routine as possible. The changes that COVID has brought has been huge. The life transitions and mental and physical tolls that COVID has caused and the extra stress. I think just trying to keep as much normalcy as we can.
Have you noticed as we talk about the last year and COVID and lessons learned and so on, are people more forthcoming about their own emotions than they might have been otherwise?
You know, I think so. We've talked a lot about staying engaged and not hiding out in your apartment, getting involved. We've really tried to spend extra one-on-one time with people who we haven't seen as much throughout the pandemic. I think COVID has kind of presented some resiliency, and a lot of people and older adults have been able to experience a lot of that over their life.
Thank you, Sydnie. John, where can listeners go for more on today's conversations?
You can call the Legacy Retirement Communities, 402-436-3000. Email us your questions at legacyretirement.com, or visit our website, legacyretirement.com.
Kathy, thank you for joining us.
See you next week.
To know what senior living options are available through the Legacy Retirement Communities, join us every Saturday morning on KFOR for the Aging Adventure. Brought to you by Legacy Retirement Communities. I'm Dale Johnson.